Hi, I'm Danger Dan Jers, the host and GM of the D&D Real Play podcast, D&D Dark. Join us on Wednesdays for an absurd, over-the-top comedy horror adventure, starring some of history's most infamous monsters.
I'm Ben Magnet. I play Mary Frankenstein, our barbarian.
I am Daniel Cruz. I am playing Imhotep the Mummy, our cleric.
I'm Jordan, and I play Larry Talbot, a lycanthropic warlock.
I am Grayson, playing Jet Griffin, the Invisible Man, the party's rogue.
I am Aaron. I play the Phantom of the Opera, our bard.
For more information, go to dndarkpodcast.com and listen to us anywhere you find podcasts.
Hey everybody, this is Davis over at Con Freaks and Geeks, and I would like to welcome you to another episode of Pop Culture Gems. This is a series where we talk to amazing creators, artists, cosplayers, voice actors, and so much more. If you like the interviews we do with these amazing guests, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our YouTube channel, or go to the name of the YouTube channel, the CFG channel, or you can listen to it on any of the podcast services out there like Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, what have you. Any services out there will always have these episodes out. And if you want to check out the most fantastic geeky content in all one area, you can always check out our main website, confreaksandgeeks.com, for the whole package. Today, I am with a rising voice actor in the VA game. He's been all over the place when it comes to anime series and gaming. This past year, he's played Adam from Record of Ragnarok just as recently as that, to Sniper Mask from High Rise Invasion, Tatsu from The Way of the House Husband, and also Thirst Trap Joe from Skate the Infinity. But most people will remember him by the awesome, misunderstood wolf Legoshi from Beastars. I would like to welcome Jonah Scott to the show. How are you doing, sir?
Good, man. How you doing? Thank you for having me.
Oh man, I'm glad that you're I'm glad that you're joining me today. It's funny. There's two things. There's two things. First off, I always wanted to talk to you. You seem like a really cool guy,
Thanks,
cool dude to talk to. Yeah, and two, it's funny because every time we've gotten a voice actor here, like doing the show. Like I find out that in some way you've done a show, or you've done voice acting in one of the games I liked the most, which was Trails of Cold Steel.
Yeah, I voiced Randy Orlando.
Randy Orlando,
big brother guy. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not like it's something so random that like I don't even think about it, but it just comes to be like, oh, they're a part of Trails of Cold Steel. So my friends and some of my coworkers here made a thing called 7 Degrees of Trails now at this point.
Incredible.
Yeah, so because we've gotten about like 9 people. We've got like Sean, like we talked to Sean Chiplaw. We're like, wow, we got the main dude. It's like, oh, okay,
yeah,
cool.
yeah. And then at that point, you got everybody else, right?
Exactly. It's like we're just spanning out. I think we got like basically like a 4 out of the 9 of the people like already.
Oh my goodness!
But it's
great.
working.
It's a great game
working.
series.
Oh,
fingers crossed for Hajimari no Kaiseki dub soon. Please.
Oh God. Yeah, well, they just recently announced like NIS America just announced like 5
I saw
new
that.
localizations. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah, well, that's cool. No, I mean it's definitely cool, but it's coming up. But yeah, so we're still keep on trucking. I'm glad you're here. Thank you for coming on as well.
Of course.
Okay, well, let's get this party started, Jonah.
Sure,
well,
yeah, it's fun, dude.
Yeah, so I was just wondering because I've seen your background a little bit, and I've heard that you initially started out from stage acting, like Broadway, plays, Broadway stages, kind of like that, and then you decided to switch over to voice acting. What made your decision to go into the world of voice acting?
When I was in college, I was a huge gamer. I was a semi-professional League of Legends player for a year and a half. I did a lot of esports and shoutcasting, and I was involved in speedrun community to some extent. I was big into streaming and video games and that whole like esports area of the internet. And it had never occurred to me in working in all that stuff and like mocking League of Legends characters as I play them and doing all that kind of stuff that there was like an actor there that was hired to do that, because it was the magic was still there for me because I hadn't delved into any sort of production, and the only kind of production stuff that I did was for stage. Mm-hmm. So I started playing Titanfall or Titanfall 2. And it was in my dorm, and my girlfriend was there at the time, and she was the one who actually said, "Hey, this guy, he kind of sounds like you when he's talking." And I'm like, what do you mean? So I had to go and like look up the fact that there was actually an actor that was hired to do this job, and they got paid money to be this person. And like that blew my mind, that for a second I was like, I could get paid to do this instead of doing the theater thing. So I kept that in the back of my mind for a little bit. And over the summer, I went with a buddy of mine to New York City, and I stayed with him for a couple of weeks because he was another theater guy. And I was like, he's like, you want to stay and, watch some auditions? You want to see how we live out here? I think it'd be really neat for you to get, immersed in that, kind of like push you into the deep end for a second. Now, I wouldn't be personally auditioning. I would just be following along. And I did that for a couple of weeks, and it was the most grueling, demoralizing, honestly annoying thing that I could ever think of. As somebody who would wake up at 11:30 and play video games until 3:30 and go eat lunch, and I wasn't a particularly studious or engaged student. I was somebody that was like, I can act, but I didn't try hard.
Are you saying kind of like how the grind of the lifestyle grind of a Broadway actor
exactly.
is just
some people
way too
are
much?
Some people are very motivated by the whole, not necessarily negative reinforcement, but they're motivated by the prospect of positive reinforcement or the prospect of a very, very good job done in difficult circumstances. Because stage, if you've ever done stage, is a lot of moving parts. And just the fact that all of that works and even is able to be pulled off, let alone whether or not it's good, just the fact whether or not it's pulled off at the end of the day is a huge testament to the amount of organization and level-headedness and just the work ethic of everybody involved. Now, I am huge into that. I still sometimes do stage stuff, and I still recite sonnets, and I memorize monologues, just because I need to make sure that stays fresh in my head, because as an actor you just got to have that base there. It was a lot of work. If you've ever done a stage show, I had to take time off of my esports team to be like, hey, I have to go and do rehearsal 3 times a week for this show, and then 3 times a week for another show, because I'm in the theater department, and I have to keep doing shows. So we got to a point where it's like, okay, do I go whole hog and fully invest myself into stage acting and move to a little postage stamp apartment in Manhattan and do the grind? And I was paying attention to the people who were on Broadway, and there's a reason these people are on Broadway. They are incredible. They are very good at what they do, and they've been doing it for years. Another thing that I noticed while I was in Broadway, or watching Broadway shows, and meeting these people afterwards, was by the time, as an actor or somebody who does musical theater, by the time you're 39 to 40, you've pretty much done a number on your body, because you spent your 25 to 35, that decade, you spent that going completely bonkers on your body, working out, doing rehearsal, especially dancers. They destroy their bodies, and it's like, do I want to be able to go hiking when I'm 40, or do I want to be able to walk on my own by the time I'm 60? That's a gamble you have to take there. But I did pump the brakes on stage acting at school just enough so that I can make sure that my senior year I got my degree, I did my juries, I made sure that everything worked. But instead of doing as many shows, I started voice acting online and doing hobbyist things. So I had a blog where I would do voice requests and stuff on the blog just to test everything out, because I had never done anything online before, or anything voice acting wise, period. And as I was putting more and more stuff out, I started to understand how the mics worked and how my voice worked and what my niche was. And people seemed to really like what I was producing. Then I started to audition for indie games and animations and, things that my friends were involved in. And these are people that I've known, up until this day. People like Kellen Goff, I've known for a long time. My buddy Ruben Lack, I've known for almost 10 years. These are all other actors that have grown up around me at the same time. And I've just recently become melted in with them out here in Los Angeles. But yeah, I people liked what I did, and suddenly I was making more money than I would doing a main season, main stage show in Louisville, which is huge.
Well,
because
in
Louisville theaters, yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Jeez.
Yeah, Louisville stage is big, and I was just like, this is, maybe I need to investigate this a little bit further. And then I started making friends online. I don't know if you know Jalen Cassell, who's another voice actor out here in Los Angeles. I slept on his floor for a year when I moved out here. I moved out here with like $200. I was on the floor for a year. I couldn't audition for things. Like I really wanted to do this because I realized that after doing it online for, a year or two, that I'm probably just as good as I am stage acting. No, you go ahead.
Yeah, you're saying, so you never really kind of had professional, not professional voice acting itself, rather like you kind of like lived it up with the people that was already mixed with into voice acting that kind of got you into the scene, as well as like you're saying, you moved in with people on the floor and stuff just to get your craft, as well as doing your own thing. Yep. So having your own craft. So wow, that's a pretty big change from theater to that. That's
it's a different. The skill set in acting is all you really need. And I tell people all the time, if they want to be, I want to be a voice actor. I want to be a voice actor. Well, you don't have to do stage, but you should do some sort of, stage work, some performance, a voice and movement class, something that gets your body moving, because a lot of the core principles of acting, especially with voice acting, is you can't feel silly when you do it. Because if you feel silly when you do it, people will hear that. You have to go whole hog. You have to go all the way. You have to go full out. You have to get serious. You have to make sure that everything reads. And a lot of the intro to stage stuff is losing your inhibitions and when you're on stage, you just go wild. And then when you're off stage, you can be like you and I, normally speaking, whatever. But, when I'm screaming in the booth, turning Super Saiyan 3, you gotta really deliver that.
Yeah, like Super Saiyan 3 like 9 different times, and it's wasted 2 hours
by the end of the thing.
I can easily see. But man, that is that's a crazy story. And how long have you been going through the voice acting? Like, how long did your journey from start for voice acting?
Well, I graduated in 2015 or 2016. Those 3 years have kind of blurred together because I was in school, and then I was out here, and then I went back to school because I would go on breaks and come back out here and visit and then go back to school. So it was kind of like mushed together. But I graduated, and then I took a few months to figure out what exactly I was going to do. Then I told my parents hey, I'm going to move to Los Angeles. And they had no idea what was going to happen because they aren't creatives. My dad is a creative; he's a musician. But my mother was a nurse, and my dad is a respiratory therapist. That's their day job. They don't have they don't know how to navigate the show business or anything like that. So they're like, I don't know what to tell you. I have no advice. You just gotta do this thing and hope it works out. We're going to support you as much as we can, but you're going to go out there and see what happens. And I did. After I graduated, I took those few months to figure out what I was doing, and then I saved up some money, not nearly as much as I needed, but I saved up some money, came out here, moved in with Jalen, slept on his floor for a while. He started writing, I think it was Iron-Blooded Orphans, and then he wrote JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and then a few other anime series while I was there. And I'm going to be very honest, anime... I watched anime as a casual anime viewer. I wasn't very hardcore. My roommates were all very hardcore into it. So a lot of the anime knowledge that I get is by osmosis and vicariously as I'm watching them and kind of sitting down when I'm eating lunch and he's watching Yu Yu Hakusho. I just kind of sit down and, watch it a little bit with him.
But that's how it naturally starts, though. I mean, to be honest.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And now I'm watching, friggin' Prince of Tennis, which is this weird obscure anime, and you're just I'm engaged. This is anime. I'm enjoying it. But I learned how to dub, and do a lot of things while I was living with Jalen, because Jalen was one of those people that's very, very much into the production side, and he knows how it works. He knows all the actors. He knows. He's seen. We would watch clips and recordings of panels that we couldn't go to, and we would just watch them, of the actors talking about their craft, and we would absorb that. But Jalen really taught me how to dub effectively from like an artistic standpoint. I learned a lot of mechanics and things like that from people like Tony Oliver and Stephanie Shea, and they really taught me how to like make sure that it worked. But Jalen and company and everybody that I worked with, we did a lot of like group projects together that were kind of not professional, but they were like, just to hone our craft, because not a whole lot of us were getting work at the time. We learned from each other how to do all of that stuff, doing, just small little things on the side, radio plays, radio dramas. I would edit audio and things like that while I was living with Jalen, just to kind of make things work. I would do tiny little demo reels for people because I'm a sound designer. That's how I would get some money to be able to pay for rent. But after that, I moved in with another friend of mine who I'm currently living with right now. His name is Winston. And I was able to have my own space. I had a closet that I would record in. I had a walk-in closet that I could go in there and just record in. And then that's when I started to audition. Because when I lived with Jalen, I had to share a booth with 3 guys.
Wow.
And the booth was connected to a computer that wasn't mine. So I had to ask a lot of permission, and we had to move things around, and we had to schedule a lot of things. And it's like, I wasn't getting very many auditions to begin with. So there was really no point in doing any of that stuff. But when I was able to get on my own, I just kind of started auditioning for things, and they weren't like major gigs. It was like, I am the skin of a character in this game. Like that's I'm the voice pack of the announcer that you can buy for $20 or whatever. And it's like little tiny kitschy stuff, but it paid relatively well. It kept a roof over my head, and it was practice to get used to, doing things around and like in person in Los Angeles, because most of what I did before was remote or from my room.
Well, it's just kind of scary when you think about it, because like you're saying, you're doing all these. I mean, not kind of pulling anything away from what the grind that you've done.
Right.
You got to respect that kind of grind, but from doing those small bits of like what you had to do to kind of see, to get your foot in the door, to all of a sudden getting Legoshi from Netflix.
That's a fun story.
Oh yeah, please tell me that one, because I was like, what did that, like, what the heck, man?
I had up until Legoshi, I hadn't done a whole lot. I did a lot of Walla. Bang Zoom was gracious enough to give me a lot of Walla work. I was Formaggio in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, who was one of the La Squadra from Golden Wind. I did some bit parts in Phoenix Man. I was bit parts in One Punch Man. I was Phoenix Man. And then, let's see, what else did I do? I think that's it. And I was Lee Hito and Kengan Ashura. These are all characters that you don't know, right? That's just kind of like they're obscure characters that just kind of show up.
Yeah.
They either die to prove the situation's serious, or they random red shirt things. But I knew me as an actor, and this isn't me like coming from a place of arrogance or anything. This is just what I do. I'm a very effective leading man. I have a very effective, like charismatic kind of attributes to my voice. I have a very heroic sounding voice, and I can make it sound like that. So I knew what my strong suit was, and I was looking for opportunities to let that happen. But nobody's just going to let Joe Schmo audition for a lead character ever. It's like, you have to prove yourself. You have to keep going. I'm going to be honest, I wasn't going to get cast as a lead character at some place like Bang Zoom that has just been trying me out on bit parts, like you know what I mean? But I was given a very, very good opportunity from SDI that showed up in my inbox, and I knew Beastars. I mean, I've been living out here for a while, and once I moved out here, I kind of became a big weeb, and I was like, I'm going to get as into this as I can. I'm going to study everything about this that I can. I'm going to try and introduce myself to as many people that work in this industry as I can, and just show them that I'm friendly, I'm passionate, and I want to do the work. And I got that opportunity to audition for Legoshi, and I'm like, this is the lead character for a show that's probably going to go on for a while. And I had auditioned for leads before, but obviously I hadn't booked them. And it's like, this guy, I was looking at the character and I was listening to the Japanese, and I'm like, yeah, this does kind of sound like me, and I could probably pull this off. And this is a very, like, if in any other circumstance, I know this is probably very, very assumptive to say, but in any other circumstance, somebody like Matthew Mercer would get in and play this character, or somebody like Troy Baker would come in and play this character, because it's just in that vocal niche.
That's the tier that you're talking about. Yeah, no, it's like usually you got the top echelons that you usually see. You're like, oh wow, that's got to be Mercer, or that's got to be Baker, or
yeah. I mean, these are leading man voices. There's obviously a handful of other people that can sound exactly like them. It's no big deal. It's just I was in the right place at the right time. And another thing that really made me super nervous about auditioning for this character was this whole show was union. This is, Beastars, anything that comes out of Netflix nowadays is a union.
That's great. That's awesome.
And I knew that this was the thing that was going to get me into the union, Taft Hartlead. So not only did I audition, I booked the character, but I became a union because of it. So I had completed a lot of my goals. The goal moving in to that year was I want to voice a character that shows up in the OP of the anime, because I just think that would be cool. And the first month of that year, it was like, here's 3 of them. And I'm just like, okay, well, now what do I do? How do I figure this stuff out? But
when you have a completion list in the game, it's like, you're like, okay, you have to do all of this. And all of a sudden you're like, you got all of them in one hit.
Done. But that was another challenge, was finding out what I'm gonna try and make my next goal. But the guy who directed the show, Bob Buchholz, he's amazing. He's so cool. He's been doing this longer than I've been alive, and he was the one who's just like, you're gonna. When he brought me in the first day, he's like, you ready to start this journey? And I'm like, oh man, I was born ready. And but in the back of my head, the entire time, I'm saying to myself, again, as this is my first anime lead, I'm like, you can't fuck this up, because if you do, anime fans will eat you alive. And you want to know how I knew that? Because I was one of them. I am my own worst critic. So when the show would come out, I would be the one who would pick it apart the most. And if I screwed this up and other people picked it apart harder than I did, I couldn't live with that. So I was very nervous doing Legoshi and, making sure that character was literally, I could not leave the booth unless it was perfect. I had to. And as a creative, it's next to impossible to get things to be perfect. But I couldn't fuck it up. I couldn't live with myself if I screwed that character up.
Well, you didn't, so you're definitely.
I'm glad. I'm very glad that I didn't. But it was a big deal. I had to take a lift home to and from all of those sessions, because 1, they were in Santa Monica, which is about 45 minutes away from where I live, and 2, I didn't have a car. And I didn't have a car for the first 3 years that I lived out here. I didn't have a car until last year.
Oh wow!
So all of my sessions, I obviously was doing it because I loved anime, because all of my sessions, I would take half of the session fee that I would get paid that day and put it into a lift. So if I was getting paid, $120 for that day, half of that would go to lift rides there and back to the studio.
Oh man!
So I was losing a lot of money working.
Yeah.
And it was just like, the only reason you're doing this is because you enjoy acting and you enjoy the work and you enjoy, dubbing and working with your friends. And now you don't really need a car as much, but I have one, and it's made commuting a lot easier.
Very much so. And then what would you say was that was kind of one of the most challenging transitions from your acting background to stage acting backgrounds to voice acting?
This other actors who are stage actors will give you the same answer. The acting style, at least for anime, for video games, you can still kind of stay that whole understated, realistic kind of performance. But for anime, a lot of anime are incredibly over the top, are very animated, and especially for dubbing, you really have to make sure that reads, because I have been miscast as characters that I shouldn't have been playing, and it got picked apart by the audience, because it's like, oh, this Jonah does cinematic, realistic acting, and he is good at comedy when he has to play straight, right? But the the issue there is that it's slightly over the top and animated to a way that like you have to be a caricature of this, like in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Everything my character said in like one particular episode, everything was yelled, screamed, not projected, not like I'm trying to talk to you from over there. Everything he said was yelled. Everything was like screamed and shouted. And it's like, that does a number on your chords, but if you do it right, it's okay. But that's not my normal voice. That's not what I actually sound like. And that's not what I'm best at. So the hardest part, the transition was toning down the like overacting that I usually do and making it so that it's a bit more straight, a bit more, not necessarily comical, but a bit more easy to digest, a bit less nuanced, a bit more, this is what we're saying. These are the emotions we're feeling. So rather than through subtlety and nuance showing what exactly the character's feeling, more so being like, you know, some commedia dell'arte stuff where it's like, I'm sad, so my face is sad, and I'm going to show you that I'm sad. But I guess it's difficult, but it was like so rewarding when you got it right. Naruto dub was one of the easiest ways for me to figure that out. That's another thing where it's like I moved out to LA and suddenly I was just like immersed in all this stuff, learning how to dub. I would watch dub Naruto, and I'm going to be honest, you know, there are some episodes of dub Naruto that aren't great, and there are some episodes of dub Naruto that are fucking poetry. And sitting down and watching those episodes of poetry, I was able to digest like, this is how you're supposed to do it. This is how it's supposed to sound. I understand now. Troy is pain. I understand now. This is what an anime villain is supposed to sound like. You know, it's like this is how it works. So it was a lot of immersing myself in the media and figuring out what the anime sound was and like why I enjoyed it and making my enjoyment kind of a catalyst to try and make it enjoyable for others. This is what I want to watch, you know?
Yeah. That's very well said. Definitely. Man, but I can't even only imagine because like from anime, the crazy, like, you know, the incredible, like you were saying, JoJo's like incredibly eccentric of like what they do, super moves and super actions and stuff to like but I think the crazy ones are kind of like sports animes, like, you know, like I think you did a character in what's called a Kuroko basketball.
Yeah, it's a lot of he's using a super move like that, that kind of thing.
I've always had an issue with those. Every time I'm myself, I'm like, how are they so eccentric about like, it's like how they're describing the situation that there is, and it's like, oh, he's just doing a jump shot. You know,
a hell of a lot of like metaphors and deep discussion and discovery as these abilities, but it's like, he's just doing a layup. Like it's not that big of a deal.
It's like literally like it's like 20, like it's 5 seconds left, and then that 5 seconds is stretched to like 6 minutes of description and like power moves,
reverse shot.
Oh my god, he did a reverse layup. It's like just switch. It's like
exactly. But hey, you know, it's engaging. A lot of the metaphors are very fun and funny, and I'm doing a lot of sports anime now, and that's just par for the course, I've noticed. And that's
very true.
If there's a formula, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
That's very true. You're watching Prince of Tennis right now, so hey.
Exactly.
All right, so like I mean, you with your background as well. I mean, you have to have like a good do you have favorite Broadway shows that you're into?
My favorite Broadway shows, I enjoy Avenue Q, which is probably something that couldn't really be put on nowadays, but I really enjoyed Avenue Q. I liked a lot of Mel Brooks's musicals that he put on Broadway. I'm a huge comedy fan. Those are fantastic. Some of the newer things, Hedwig and the Angry Inch is great. There's a lot of newer stuff on Broadway, and there's some stuff off Broadway that's really neat. The Spamalot musical, I think, was on Broadway for a bit, then moved to off Broadway. That was really good. I'm a huge Monty Python Flying Circus fan. But yeah, I'm big into comedy. There's stage plays that are enjoyable. There was one my sister went to that she showed me pictures of and some video of on YouTube, where there was this house in New York, and it was kind of like a interactive theater where you would go in and at a particular time, the production would start, and then the play would just happen around you. Wow. And as you walked through the different rooms and things like that. Different scenes would play out in the rooms, and you kind of piece together this like eldritch horror story as like time passed in this home, and eventually you ended up in like the basement, and there was a naked chick covered in blood, and it's amazing.
Oh, boy.
Like performance art is so good, and they don't touch you. It's not like a haunted house or anything like that. It's just like you buy a ticket and you stand there, and then you're just watching the show as you're walking around. It's kind of like touring a house, but with art around you. But yeah,
awesome.
I'm big into experimental theater and things like that too. I loved watching that stuff in college.
Yeah, so it's like my mom kind of got me into like really getting into Broadway musicals. There's musicals that I know I will never watch, like Sound of Music, because I've watched it so many times when I was a kid and stuff. But I mean, the one I think it really kind of got me over was when Daniel Radcliffe did, like, in the early 2000s, like
Equus,
2010s. No, not Equus. Not the one about not the horse. Not the horse one. Oh God! It's like, fascinating. So he did what?
I remember that being a big deal.
That would have been like, you know what? I'll accept that. But no, it was How to Succeed in Business Without Even Trying with like John Larroquette.
I played J. Pierpont Finch in a production of that in college. How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying. Yep. And
God, like
another classic musical that I really like is Guys and Dolls, but.
Oh, yo, I you know what's funny? Like my friend told me about that one. I've never seen it, but like like I love like old school like Music Man and all that stuff and everything. But like man, but Guys and Dolls is a good one. I might need to check that one.
Yeah, the old I don't know if it was original Broadway, but the old Broadway cast had J.K. Simmons and Nathan Lane. Wow. J.K. Simmons was huge on Broadway for a while. Yeah, it was before he did like a big film career.
Wow, I did not even know that he was in Broadway. He did Broadway like that.
Yeah.
But that's definitely cool. I'll definitely
a lot of your favorite actors have done Broadway at some point, just because it was an inevitable phase. I learned the other day that what's his name? Jason Alexander from Seinfeld.
Oh yeah,
he did a lot of Broadway.
He definitely did a lot of Broadway. He actually, I think, like before he got Seinfeld, I think he did quite a bit of it. Like, that
was his bread and butter.
Yeah, it's very crazy. And then like, no, you're totally right. But no, I love going to shows and stuff, man. It's really a good experience. But I need to check out the one. Yeah, that's very true. All right, and like, man, like it's been an incredible. Like, I mean, even despite the crazy year that we've had this past year, but like it must have been very incredible for you though, because I mean, like, literally, seriously, like, I mean, like, I was like, what, like, all these different kinds of series is like you were, I mean, from Legoshi and Beastars was really kind of the one that started it off for me, like, kind of noticing it, and I'm like, man, he's getting a lot of different kinds of things, but like. In your role, like, I mean, in this push of like what you're doing and what you're experiencing, like, I mean, do you have like something like a dream role that you would want to participate in, or do you have something in mind that you like?
Moving to Los Angeles, I had the penultimate thing that I want to do is I want to do not character wise, nothing like that. I want to do a what Joel was in The Last of Us. I want to be that in some capacity to a video game. Not necessarily play Joel or play a character like Joel, but I want to do the performance capture, motion capture, and vocal capture for a character and lend myself completely to that character. Now, to
be fully involved and dived
even in some sort of producer position, something like that, almost as though I was producing a movie. I want to be in. That's the big one. That's, as a performer, that's what I want to do. But moving out here, I had in my back pocket at some point that I might be able to play the Dying Light 2 card. I was voicing Aiden for about 3 years before I moved 100%, like was finished moving out here. I was voicing the character in a temporary voice capacity. A friend of mine got me this audition. A wonderful actor named George Ledoux got me this audition and was like, "Hey, dude, I'm working with this company here. Figured you might want to audition for this character and whatever." I had just gotten done playing Dying Light 2, and I knew through context clues they had a working title. I'm not going to say the working title, but they had a working title. There was a lot of this was under wraps, and I knew from context clues. I'm like, this is the sequel to a game that I just played. This is 100% the sequel to this game that I just played, and just because of what they were saying in the lines, and then I was like, oh, well, yeah, sure. And the actor who was casting it was like, yeah, so they want you to do the temp voice, and I'm like, okay, fine. I'm not gonna. This is a pipe dream. This is a character that I'll never be able to get to voice. Eventually, they're going to replace me with a celebrity or something like that. That's just how it works. And they just kept bringing me back. Every now and again, I get an email that's like, "Hey, they want you to do more temp voices for this character. This is the player character. They didn't even have a name yet. We want you to do it again. A couple months would go by. We want you to come back and make sure we do some temporary efforts for this thing. We want you to come back." And I didn't know what was happening. I signed a contract that was like, you don't talk about what you're doing, but like this doesn't guarantee anything. Right. And I kept doing it, and I thought in the back of my head, I'm like, they're just going to replace me someday. This work is going to go. This work is going to be gone. And then they're like, hey, we want you to do the voice, like a narration for this trailer that we're going to show at E3. And as a gamer, I hear E3 and I'm like, that's a big deal. Like, you want me to do an E3 trailer? Like hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people are going to hear this. So we did that, and it went up at E3, and everyone's like, who the fuck is that voice actor? We've never heard him before. I have no idea who that person is. And again, I hadn't done Legoshi at this point, so nobody really had any idea who I was. And I was very lucky to be able to claim that, because usually companies are like, don't talk about anything. Even if you do appear in the trailer, you're not allowed to say anything. Even if people are guessing that it is you, you're not allowed to say anything. But I was lucky that I was able to be like, hey, that's me. Like, guys, look, this is wonderful. Check this out. And again, I go back into the purgatory of like, they're going to fire me any day. There's no reason they had to keep me. Like, I live in LA is the only reason they would keep me on. Right. That, and I'll take no money. That, and I'll do this for free. That, and there's a lot of other reasons that they would want to hire somebody else. But as the weeks went on, I started getting cast in more things, and then I booked Legoshi, and then I booked some other deuteragonists and lead characters, and then I got an agent, and then I was like, hey, is there, like, I don't know what the situation is with this company. Could you like talk to them and see what's up? And and Techland was like, yeah, you're our Aiden. I thought you knew this. You're what you're doing this. And I'm like, you could have told me that a year ago, so I wouldn't have to live in quiet anxiety for most of my life. But yeah, I can't talk about much else beyond that. Right, for literally years. I can't say much about the game or anything, but that situation surrounding like that. And you had asked like, what was my ultimate goal moving out here? It was to do something like that. Now, granted, I would have liked to be involved a bit more in like production and things like that, like to fulfill my dream. But like, this itself, like being the protagonist of a first-person action RPG,
AAA title too.
Like, that's AAA title. That's Booker DeWitt. That's Jack Cooper. That's a character that's going to stay with me for the rest of my life. And with the amazing customer support that Techland has, and the amount that they keep up with their games and put their games out, I feel like I'm going to be working for this company and as this character for a while. I
think I would agree. I mean, it's funny because when you're saying with E3, because I believe I did see the E3 trailer. That was back in 2019 before all of this happened, and then like they did the explanation about like the flood. Like you could basically leave sites and spots completely untouched and everything. How vast this thing was. So, but it would have been nice for them to give you the heads up of like saying, yeah, that's right. It's like. You inadvertently got into it.
Yeah, there was no casting. There was nothing. It's just like, and you're scheduled for this session soon. I'm like, I guess I'm doing. They can't like go back now, can they? Like, there's no like. I have to be like, there's no. You're 100% serious, right? Like, I'm certain. But yeah, they've it wasn't acting like kind of cold to you at that point, though. To be for you to be kind of anxious.
No, not at all.
I don't blame them in the least, because like you got to think about what they've been working through right now. Like they've worked through a pandemic. They've had to have crunch on their game to some extent. Like they're working we're working their asses off to make this game as good as possible. And it's like I'm over here like, hey, are you gonna confirm me as a character? Like I'm an actor. I'm Matt. Like it's but the warmth that they welcome me with, the tagline welcome me with after I was like, they're like, oh yeah, dude, I'm sorry, 100%, you're our Aiden, like way to go, like that you way to go, you sound great. And I felt massive weight off my shoulders, and I was able to finally like, okay, let's do this, let's make this the best game I've ever made. So that is my dream. My dream is a little bit bigger than what I've got, but like this is already, I cherish this, like what I have as this character. I want to make it as good as possible, and like because I'm a fan of the game franchise, I'm a fan of gaming in general. Like even when the game comes out, I personally plan to host a speedrun tournament just to see how people, that's how invested I am in community and making sure that like people know that this game means a lot to me, and that my job means a lot to me, and my community means a lot to me. So, very much so. Yeah, that's.
Man, I'm a Dying Light fan, so that I'm like I can't wait until we get our hands on it too. I mean, that game looks it looks amazing, so I definitely can't wait to hear you. Yeah, I hear you in it. And but there's also a thing that like that you do on your YouTube page that I have to comment on. Oh yeah, and it's it was your anime voice actor reads your thirst tweets.
Okay,
and I have to say though, like that's pure gold, man. I'm just like, are you kidding me? It's funny to me because it's like I know people can get very thirsty, but my God, this is crazy.
Yeah. The reason behind that is really, really interesting. I have a very masculine voice. I have a very heroic voice, and a voice that lends itself to, for some reason, characters that are very attractive and paternal, and I hesitate to say the word daddy, whoops, there I go, are paternal, and they're almost like big brother-like, and because of the reason, like that my voice doesn't sound like a 16-year-old kid, it sounds like a 27-year-old man, and because of that, all of my characters are of age. And because of that, people can thirst for them as much as they want. They can even get pretty vulgar with most of them, and that's because they're over the age of consent, 18. Like by a mile. Like I play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 characters over the age of 25. Wow. And I thought to myself, I'm like, okay, I did YouTube for a while. I've streamed longer than I've done YouTube, but when you're a creative and a content creator, you have to keep the ideas moving, and you have to keep thinking like what would be great. And I scroll through my character tags a lot, and half the time I scroll through, it's like, oh my God, these are just a bunch of people that just want to have sex, or just they just want to see this guy shirtless, or all they're talking about is his boobs, and all they're talking about is like him taking a shower, and it's like, what? That's weird. But is it though? Because these guys they're over a certain age. They're allowed to be thirsted after, and it's not like I'm going to be able to stop anybody from doing this. So I figured, as a person who is engaged in the community, and reads pretty much everything, why not just read everybody's thirst tweets out loud and put them on blast? I don't have to say their name. We can blur out their handle. But we just got to be like, yo, I'm reading these. You don't think you think. It hits a psyche area with fans, right? It hits this strange area where it's like, I'm tweeting on Twitter, and I'm not adding the voice actor, that means he's never going to see it ever, right? But I have a team of people that go and find this stuff. I'm not going and looking at it myself, because the reaction is what we're recording, is me reacting to like these crazy things. So I do eventually see everything. Yeah, half the fun is the initial reaction.
Yeah, and also the other half too. I love like the some of the thirsty tweets are bad, but what I love too is like I've been noticing some of the names that correspond to those tweets can be just as bad.
Yeah,
too,
exactly.
Like, oh my goodness! But that's,
and it's not. I want to really hammer home that I'm not. we're laughing together. My intention is never to make fun of everybody or to make fun of anybody or to say what you're saying is wrong or inconsiderate or evil. What you're saying is what you're feeling, and I'm not going to be mad at you for saying that. I'm gonna laugh a little bit because it's like it's a bit shocking to some extent as somebody who voices this character and has had a lot of time with this character and knows a lot of their motivations and things like that. But I'm not gonna get mad at you for it. I'm not upset. I'm not weirded out. I'm weird myself. So me reading these things, it doesn't do anything. It's not shocking to me because I've been on the internet a long time. It's not shocking to me. It's shocking to the people who watch it because I'm reading it. That's the funny part. And it hits a lot of the whole, like, I didn't expect him to read this kind of nerve. I didn't expect him to find this. I didn't think he would find this, when if I do, and it's public knowledge, I'm going to show it.
Yeah. It's like, oh, okay, cool. If you're on Twitter, you're posting that kind of stuff anyways. You shouldn't be caring because you already have
private blog. You don't have a password.
Yeah.
There's nothing. It's you put it online for everyone to see.
Yeah. You didn't like scope it out. It's like, oh, I was looking at this guy's life journal the other day, and
exactly.
Yeah, no, it was like this. But like, what is one of like? Do you remember any of the thirstiest tweets that you remember? Like, what's one that you?
There was one that in the first. I've since done a couple of other like tweet reaction videos, but in the first one, there was one for Legoshi where it was so bad that I couldn't finish saying it out loud, where it was just this is, I don't know if I'm going to get in, like, I'm cool with saying it out loud, but I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble for saying it out loud. So I was just like, you know what, just blur it and put it on screen. And it had to, it was vulgar. There was a lot of like references to genitals and things like that. And I'm like, this is crazy. I love it. This is content. Like, you blur everything out because like it's almost funnier when you blur it and bleep it out, because it's just like, you're just like, oh, I this could be any number of words, but I guess it's this one. And it's kind of like a weird sick Mad Libs that you play with your audience.
Your imagination just runs wild with it.
Exactly. You're just like, what could this possibly be? But yeah, it was about Legoshi and Goheen, I think, going at it. I'm not entirely sure exactly the exact specifics because I didn't finish reading it, but I love it. I think it's hilarious. It's hilarious. It's nuts.
It's great.
Yeah,
it is very great. It is like, wow. It's like, I did not know that there was something in this world that I did not have, but you provided it for me with it.
But there's a risky thing too, where voice actors. It's weird how anime works, because there's characters also that are like 13 years old, like Jotaro.
Yeah.
Like Jotaro's like what, 15 when he beats Dio or something like that. He looks like he's a 35-year-old man. He's shredded. But then you get the other ways where it's like, this guy looks like he could be 18, but or 19, like characters that I voice. But they're actually 27 pushing 30. Courier from Akudama Drive. He is 27 years old. He drives a bike. God. He smokes. He's a grown-ass man, but he kind of looks like he's 17.
Of course. That's how it normally is. It's how it normally goes. It's like, oh, yeah. Well, anime is that you always have to be careful for those kind of traps. So
yeah.
And when I was going through, when you were going through those the videos, like when you're part of the animes, like, like you were saying earlier, like when you're animes like Skate and Beastars and High Rise Invasion, do you just naturally have, like, in the back of your mind, like, oh god, let the gates open kind of situation?
Yeah, but in my experience, I may be voicing characters that are attractive, but if you think about anime across the board, 95% of the characters are attractive, and there's going to be somebody that thirsts after these characters. I don't know if mine are disproportionate or that I am just embracing the fact that it happens. I am still, like, I've only been doing this professionally, like, full time for 2 years, so that's still a gray area for me. I'm not sure whether or not it's just the fact that I'm like, yeah, do it, or that it just happens naturally. But there are a few characters, like when I voiced Tatsu. I was a big Way of the House Husband fan. I have all the manga on my shelf over there. Like, it's big for me. And I got the audition. I'm like, this is Way of the House Husband. I know exactly what they want. I know exactly how I'm going to try and do this. I don't know if I'm going to get cast or not, but like if I do get cast as this character, he is going to, everything he says is going to be the coolest thing anyone has ever said. It's going to all be action movie one-liners. Like he has to be hot. He has to be sexy. He's shirtless half the fucking show. Like it's, yeah, of course. How are you not going to thirst after a literal dad? Like a literal dad. He's got a kid. Like
that's true. You're totally right. Oh my god. What about like like Way the House Husband? Like, have you seen the live action movie or series?
Oh yeah, Kenji Tsuda does an amazing job. That part was made for him.
Oh, I love it. It's so great. That's one of my favorite ones too. And come on, but like Skate. Like you know, really,
Joe is engineered to be thirsted after. I think he's made in a lab.
Like, yeah, he was clearly meant to be to be thirsted over, and I'm just like, oh
lab.
My god. Yep. I'm surprised you haven't heard anything about Adam. Adam is literally naked.
Adam is naked the entire fucking show. He is covered only by a leaf and maybe a sheet if he's lucky. I guess it's just because it only came out like last week or the week before that, and I haven't been able to, I guess, flex that part of the fandom yet. So we'll see if there's more Adam content in the future.
You have to give it some time to kind of stew a little bit.
It's got to ruminate a bit. But yeah, exactly. Homie's naked 24/7.
It's so funny. And but seriously though, I like really admire like how you own up to the characters that you play and the fandoms that come along with them. But like have you always been a fan when it comes to like anime? Like, well, you said that you kind of got into it when you moved to Los Angeles, or or was it something that like when you experienced that I'm sorry. Never mind. Forget about that. You already answered that question, so that's fine. But like, what about and I've also checked out your content on Twitch as well. Like, shameless plug, John Scoot, if you want to check it out on Twitch.tv, which is a lot of fun. Just wondering, like, what kind of games do you normally like to gravitate towards?
Usually I play, whenever I don't have a main game that I'm playing, I would play Overwatch or Apex Legends, or the other week I tried Rainbow Six Siege, a bunch of like team-based games that I can get together with friends and sit down and play. And at the same time, if I die, I can talk to chat. There's a lot of like times for interaction. A big part of my Twitch stream is chat interaction. I like to read to the chat as it goes by as much as possible when I'm playing games. So games that facilitate that. We played Resident Evil Village, and there was a lot of downtime and cutscenes in that I could react and then talk to chat. We do. I like to play story-based video games and story-driven video games. I played through Control recently, a few other story-driven games that I just like to sit down and play. Sometimes we do React Lord content. Sometimes I sit down and watch some YouTube videos with chat that they show me. We do media share streams. We do all kinds of fun content in our Discord channel. But
just all over the place with it. It's pretty cool.
It's a pretty active community. Our Discord server has almost 10,000 members at this point. It's pretty active, and I'm very proud of where this stuff has taken me. I've been streaming on Twitch for like 6 years. I streamed when I moved out to here. I streamed to an audience of 10 people, all of which were my friends in Discord, for about a year. And I would do the same content that I would do normally here, but it's just now we have an audience and we have people who will engage, and we have, people who want me to produce more content instead of me trying to like struggle to do that. It's just like, we should do this, you should do this. And there's constant suggestions, and I'm blessed to have the Twitch community that I do and the career that I do. And I'm able to use them both interchangeably. And this might get a little sad, but about a year and a half ago, my mom passed away of a heart attack, and it was very sudden, and she was a lot of stability that I had out here. She would help me pay my rent. I would talk to her almost every day. She didn't know what I was doing. She couldn't offer me any real advice, but she would tell me to keep going and tell me to just keep working on things. And a lot of her suggestion was like, Jonah, maybe you should start a YouTube channel and you can just vlog about your voice actor life. And I'm just like, nobody would want to listen to that. I'm not cast as anything. I haven't done anything. No one would want to watch my YouTube channel watch the YouTube channel of a struggling voice actor, right? So the Twitch was YouTube would have been. I thought to myself, YouTube would be a lot of effort, and it's a lot of like, I would have to edit the videos and sit down and do things. But with Twitch, I could just flip a switch, and then whoever wanted to come could come and watch, and then whoever I could take the content later and put it into a YouTube thing, or do whatever I wanted with it. So the Twitch kind of became my own. Hey guys, today I did this. I had a session. I couldn't tell you what it's for, but it was for an anime, and I recorded for 2 hours, and I was in North Hollywood. I came back, took a shower, and now we're going to play some video games. And tonight I have to go and do another thing for acting, but tomorrow I have to reveal a character, and I'm going to show you. Like, it's this kind of vlog community thing where I can keep people abreast of what I'm doing without making 80 tweets. I can just record and stream video games for people, and they can ask me questions about VO, and they don't have to spend $75 to go to a convention and wait in line to ask me a question. They can just pop in, tag me, and ask me that question. Now, will they get all the other things that come with a convention, like the other panels, the other guests, the dealer's room? No, they won't, but they'll get their question answered. And their pressing acting question answered, or the pressing question about why I like to main McCree instead of Reaper. Like it crosses over a bunch of wires, and that's why I really enjoy Twitch and how it just kind of merges with my community and my career at this point. It's just
definitely like and that's really awesome to hear, dude. Thank you. And I'm sorry for your loss with your mother.
We're good. Thank you.
But like overall though, I just think it's just fun. I love it when the voice actor is very it's very interactive with you and stuff like that. Like and when you were saying about going to a convention this is the reason why we did this show, is because we wanted to talk more with the voice actors that feel like going to a convention and be like, hey, we have 10 minutes to talk to Jonah this time.
Exactly.
And just on this round table with really bad sound and a bad microphone and stuff. I love this experience more, and it's really awesome.
I do too.
Yeah, very nice and chill now. So I guess that's one thing that came out from this past year. that was good, but still.
Fantastic.
Jonah, thank you so much for being a part of coming in, geeking out with me a little bit, and talking about all this stuff. It's really
Thanks
cool.
for bringing me in, man.
Yeah, is there anything you'd like to maybe just want to plug for yourself, or is there?
I on YouTube, I have a YouTube channel. Just type in Jonah Scott, and that'll come up first. On Twitch, I am twitch.tv/Jonah Scoot, two O's, not two T's. And follow me on Twitter at I'm Mr. Transistor, and I post all kinds of stupid memes and clips from Twitch and content about characters that I voice, et cetera. But that's really about it. Thank you so much for your time, man.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And guys, thank you so much for listening to Pop Culture Gems. As always, if you liked this interview, you can also check out a whole lot more on our Spotify and on our YouTube page, the CFG channel. And but definitely just give a like and subscribe, comment, whatever, what have you. We will always love to have new fans talking to amazing, awesome people just like Jonah. So, guys, this is Davis signing off. Y'all take it easy.